yesterday in Dearborn, Michigan, the streets were defined by conflict and protests and marches between the Christians and the Muslims. Now, this was not quite of the same caliber as, say, the Battle of Arsuf or Jaffa, but it was still...
not quite that big as a crusade, but we're getting there.
We are building to something here. There does seem to be... again, it's just a symptom of the trajectory that many Western cities are now going towards, and as a consequence of that, I obviously have a lot to say about all of the different sides of it. Before I do, though, I just want to point your attention towards the latest episode of Chronicles, because Stelios and I have recorded one talking about the final play of... What?
Sorry, just this screenshot that they've chosen of Stelios makes it feel like he's in a dating sim. and he's trying to seduce me.
He's trying to seduce Athena.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he does like Athena.
Apologies.
Anyway, no, that's all right. Anyway, the point is, it's an absolutely fantastic play talking about all sorts of things between, blood feuds, vengeance, violence, civic law and the polity, and the consent of the minority as well, which is a sort of a decision that Aeschylus comes to, that actually peace cannot be established without the minority basically granting the higher wisdom that the majority have come to. And so what you're seeing with this play here, what Aeschylus is working through, is a transition from the old moral age defined by the Titans and towards a new, more reasoned sense of justice as exhibited by the Olympians and by the wisdom of Zeus. So it's a deeply philosophical play. Please do go and check it out if you're interested. So let's talk a little bit first, shall we, about the history of Dearborn. How did we actually get here? How did we get to it being the first Arab-American majority city in the United States? Well, in fact, as it happens, this goes back quite a long way. Now, you see, there have actually been Syrians and Lebanese people there since the 1880s, but these were, of course, Christians.
And a very tiny minority, no doubt.
Yes, and a very, very tiny minority. But due to Michigan and Henry Ford and his factories in the 1920s, that also brought in many other workers from that region of the world who were obviously happy to take the new wage that Ford was proposing. And then, of course, so then you have a few thousand within places like Detroit, places like Dearborn, and then, of course, the critical blow, as is the case with basically the history of America, was, of course, the Hart-Celler Act of the 1960s. And this ramped things up to comically unjust levels, and obviously was not what any American really wanted the trajectory of their cities to turn into. It wasn't in the mind of the founding fathers that they would hand away all of their cities built up by the European settlers over centuries to third worldists who have no consideration for the Constitution, for its heritage, and for the Anglo high-trust society that America became.
They explicitly stipulated white European men of good character, didn't they?
Yes.
So
yes.
That was reaffirmed in 1924 as well.
And obviously this particular article from The Conversation is very, very proud of this change that has happened to Dearborn. And I think that these two paragraphs in particular are just worth reading, which is that, nevertheless, the Arab-American community continued to grow and diversify. Iraqi and Syrian refugee populations began to arrive in the 90s and 2010s, respectively, following wars in their homelands. Homelands, interesting word, not obviously native to America. They settled in Dearborn and on its periphery in Detroit and neighbouring suburbs. Together, this new cohort of Arab Americans joined the established community in fighting back against Donald Trump's Muslim travel ban and other policies that discriminated against refugees, migrants, and Muslims by building alliances with Democrats and engaging with broadening civil rights coalitions represented by groups such as Black Lives Matter and the Women's March.
So they immediately formed an ethnic bloc and started fighting for their own interests against the interests of the white majority.
Many such cases.
This is such a good thing. I was thinking, so did you say that Ford and his factories were one of the reasons that people from that part of the world, I would assume Christians from that
Yes.
part of the world, migrated there in the first place in the early 20th century?
Yes.
Because one of the things I always think about, like Michigan and Detroit and Dearborn there, I always wonder if part of it is not, this is going to sound conspiratorial, a punishment for Ford being a very notorious racist.
No, it
And
sounds like it was
anti-Semite.
happening in his
But
time.
if Ford was one of the people who invited them there in the first place, then that's kind of a knock against capital, really. The
Yeah.
capitalist invited a load of foreigners who ended up later being anchors for communities of more of them to come in.
On the plus side, at least we know that the coalition isn't going to last. I mean, if the example of Jeremy Corbyn's Your Party is anything to go by,
Right.
we know that the Islamo-Communist alliance is going to break up very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
They couldn't even get an email name list out
Nope.
before somebody started trying to scam.
Couldn't even name the party. So anyway,
True.
But you can see here in clear black and white that what they did was they just behaved like Sadiq Khan, like Mamdani. They used multiculturalism as a wedge to break the unity of the heritage of America, the white Anglos heritage of America. And
Kind of
then-
like strike busters.
Yes, exactly. And so, and then we got to this
bugger off,
article
Guardian.
from, I'm not giving you money, this article from The Guardian from just a month ago saying, I don't feel safe anymore, says Dearborn's Arab Americans on the rising Islamophobia. Turns out that it wasn't, as the article just pointed out, actually a place with healing, safer, better communities.
and now you get to know how the Lebanese Christians felt.
Yeah, biodiversity. And so, naturally, as the Muslim population of Dearborn increased, Americans had to deal with particularly American Christian ambience like this. At 5:30 in the morning every day.
So that looks like an otherwise really nice little suburban street. You
I
look
know.
at that without the sound and you think, oh, I bet that's a very pleasant place. No,
No. Could have been.
no.
Should have been. But
Ruined
isn't.
by
Probably
foreign
was.
caterwauling.
Yes.
And obviously, if you think that you're going to have any sympathy from the mayor on this, I wouldn't expect so, given
So
that
Mayor Abdullah
Abdullah-
Hamoud,
doesn't seem to find any contention.
the noise levels are not an issue.
No.
Yeah, of course not, because it's your religion broadcasting the call to prayer.
Well, he assures us that the call to prayer is within the legal limits of what the sound can be.
Oh, there we go.
And so, therefore, what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
Be
But me
good.
going down your neighbourhood and honking my horn at 5:30 in the morning is also within the legal limits. You still wouldn't tolerate it, though, would you?
No,
Traditional
not
American
particularly.
call to prayer.
And then, so he has other thoughts as well on multiculturalism and diversity, which we'll just hear him out on.
Because what you often hear that's accompanied with that as well, you must assimilate. I shouldn't put out a magazine that's in 2 languages. Why can't you speak English? Why are my videos subtitled in Arabic? Why is my caption both in English and Arabic? People get frustrated by this. But to me, it's like, I actually disavow the use of the term the melting pot. I actually don't like it. Why? Because in a melting pot, when you're talking about like a soup, everything looks the same, right? We're the salad bowl. The lettuce is lettuce, the tomato is tomato, the cucumber is cucumber, and they all complement each other.
Now, for me, the salad bowl
very
simile is
interesting.
really just the Inglourious Bastards meme of this, because obviously America isn't a salad bowl; it's a steak. And what you're seeing here,
I thought it was a cheeseburger.
or a cheeseburger. But what he's basically saying is, look, you have all these distinct flavors, and actually, you can just put Marmite in your burger or chutney. No, some ingredients.
Actually, I quite like the idea of Marmite in a burger, I've got to be honest.
Okay, well, that's ruined my
This is why
entire
I
argument.
I'm sorry.
This is why I don't trust you, Carl.
I'm a great cook. I don't know
Oh,
what anyone was complaining about.
But you take my point. There are some
Yeah.
ingredients within the salad or the burger that are naturally a part of it, and there are others that simply don't belong in that dish.
But also, I mean, to say that we're going to move to your country and then we're going to repudiate the idea of integrating into your society and form our own ethnic enclaves, which are, I mean, what he is arguing for here is basically just a colony, a foreign Arabic colony, Muslim colony in Dearborn.
that gets the same benefits from the local states that everybody else should be entitled to. So what he's just saying is, let us be a parasite.
Yeah.
Let us be a tax parasite from you. Let us take your tax money.
I mean, it's
Please.
literally just a foreign colony that is extracting resources from the majority native.
I would like to leech off of you, please.
And what's more as well, some of the Muslims who are growing up in Dearborn are, suffice it to say, quite radical. So we
really?
had this here from Ahmad Musa Jabril, who served 6.5 years in prison for conspiracy, fraud, money laundering, and possession of firearms and ammunition, and is a popular figure amongst ISIS terrorists.
Oh, you know it's going to be good when you can see the memory TV popping
Right.
there.
So he is
But this is exactly the sort of thing that you get from these sort of these communities.
local Dearborn man.
Yeah.
Just happens to hold the opinions that basically the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a praiseworthy action, and he condemned other Muslims who did condemn it. And he is obviously, very, just utter scum.
Why don't we have the memory subscription, guys?
Good question.
It'd be too blackpilling. So then, of course, I'm just teeing up with all of that to say this is the sort of environment that the people of Dearborn are living in. And so, naturally, you can't expect the white WASP heritage Americans to just accept this. To just accept the mayor coming out and saying, actually, we can speak in Arabic as much as we want. Actually, it doesn't matter if you wake up every single day and slowly see your culture and inheritance taken apart piece by piece, right? That doesn't matter. Yeah, that will kind of irk you eventually.
This is the thing I've been warning Americans about. When they're like, oh, look at what's happening to England. It's like, well, it's happening in America as well, man. You know?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and their demographics are worse than ours. And so I've purposefully... one thing I just want to make clear as well is that there were different protests that were going on yesterday, and they were not of the same flavour, and I have different things to say about both of them. But for now, let's just talk about this one here, because this was led by Jake Lang, who was actually one of the January 6th.
I was going to say, why do I know that name?
We have interviewed him.
That's right. Yeah.
Or Josh has interviewed him.
Yeah.
He did. So one of the Jan 6th hostages, along with a what was his name? Cam Higby as well. So these two people, and we can see the type of protest that they were putting on.
We're taking the streets of Dearborn.
So Americans against Islamization, American flags, all seems very sensible on the surface. But then you eventually had behaviour like this. Now, I'm not saying it's not funny, but he went on to basically slap the Quran with a slice of bacon. At which point, what did you think was going to happen?
I'm not even sure we should play it.
No.
Being on YouTube.
No, all right.
I know that sounds like hypersensitive, but
No, I appreciate the caution.
It's
probably,
YouTube,
probably for the best. But anyway, obviously, as you can imagine, for all the Muslims, they didn't take that too well.
no, I can't imagine they did.
To understate the point. But the point as well is that this is not just walking down the street saying, we're Americans, we're still here. It's going straight to the most provocative thing.
Yeah.
To encourage violence and to basically treat this... all this is, really, is a video designed for clickbait.
Yeah.
Right? It's just designed for internet sensationalism. It's not actually addressing the concerns of the local people. It's entirely performative. Now, there is also this video from Cam, which I'm less interested in his position there and more for you to just get a view of the crowd themselves. Reminds me of England, in many ways.
Foreign colonists.
Right.
It's like taking a trip to Manchester.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so then we, of course, had more of this, more shouts of Allahu Akbar and all of this. But the thing was that everything that Cam was doing and that these gents were doing had this sort of smugness to it, right? The idea that they didn't really... It was really for their own clout, for their own visibility. And ultimately as well, they are very, very critical of the Islamization of the United States. And of course, why would you not be?
Of course.
Why would you not be? But also, as well, we have to consider the fact that Cam recently met with Netanyahu. Right. And so we have that aspect of things as well. So, like with many things, we have sort of a Zionist-backed agitation movement, but then simultaneously, we have the other protest that was going on. Now, this is, sorry, it's not a picture of him, but I'm going to start talking about Anthony Hudson.
Right.
Now, Anthony Hudson is actually currently running as a Republican candidate for governor. And he basically wanted to say that we want to protect America against Sharia law. He doesn't seem to be in with those people who I've just previously named. But what's more as well, his drawbacks are the fact that he is one of those boomers who doesn't actually want to touch the ethnic component of it. Right. And so both sides see a part of the picture, but they're not looking at it in the actual whole. And given the stakes that we're now at and how late the hour is,
especially for Dearborn being majority Arab.
Especially for Dearborn. But I think this is perhaps one of my broader points as well, is that if a solution is going to come to this, it's not going to be from within Dearborn itself, because, of course, by this point, being the majority demographic, the Muslims have the institutions. And so nothing can really be achieved by marching on the streets of Dearborn. If a solution is to come, it has to come from the federal government. It has to come from Washington. And some of the, when I drew on earlier that radical jihadist who was saying awful things about the assassination of Kirk, he and several others were, of course, deported because of what was said. But again, it's 16 people. Yeah. And if these are the most radical, and you see all those faces in the crowd as I pointed them out to you, these are just the high-profile cases. Yeah. This is not just the average ghettoized community.
The community itself supports these people, which is why they operated in that community in the first place.
Exactly. Those communities gave birth to those radical figures, and so we have to suppose that the community is, of course...
is a reflection of their beliefs.
Exactly so. And so, really, what we have here as well is the problem is that Anthony Hudson, and I want to be genuine here, from what I've seen looking around several videos of him, Anthony Hudson seems like a really decent man, right? He seems like a man who really loves America. He's obviously of heritage American, and he is deeply troubled about what is happening to... He is Texan, but obviously he's not looking at it by city. He's just seeing what's happening to his nation, to America as a whole, and this deeply concerns him. The problem is, of course, that if Anthony hopes to accrue any sense of political influence in Dearborn, then that necessitates giving at least lip service to the Muslims. Yeah. And so we have videos online of Anthony in the mosque saying, look, it's not as bad as they make it out here.
This is like the Democrat in Minnesota speaking Somalian, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
exactly that.
Yeah. But I was about to ask what his chances are looking like.
Well, to be honest with you, I probably should have checked that, but I haven't, because ultimately...
I mean, if he's having...
He's a Republican.
I was going to say, if he's
a Democrat,
if he's having to make these kinds of concessions, then it means no chance.
Exactly. Yeah. You can tell the battle's already been lost. And what's more as well, to just read a little bit further from this article, the Council on American Islamic Relations Michigan chapter, which is a thing, said that it welcomed Hudson's apology.
Oh, wow.
In a news release. The statement said that Sharia as a concept has been misunderstood and used to ostracize Muslims in society. And so we welcome, quote, Mr. Hudson's remorse for his admitting fear-mongering against the Dearborn community and American Muslims in general, said Executive Director Dawood Walid. We invite him to further discussions to learn about the Islamic faith and what Muslims generally believe, counter to false narratives and misinformation. So they're inviting him for a struggle session, for a re-education struggle session. And so, again, it just comes to a point. You are Americans, if you are serious about the survival of your nation, coming up to its 250th anniversary, and God willing, you'll have 250 more. You have got to address this from the root of federal power. You're not going to be able to do this city by city, especially as the years go on, and the demographics worsen. It's got to come from the top.
And the open borders came from the top in the first place.
Exactly.
So that's where it has to end.
And it cannot be basically used as a skin suit for provocation, by actors who have foreign interests and foreign allegiances, nor can it be achieved through basically boomers who are not addressing the key aspects of to why all this happened in the first place. But nonetheless, for Anthony, I still do commend his bravery for going out there in a very, very hostile environment yesterday.
Yeah.
And not just one hostile environment, several hostile environments, because also the other crowd were graffitiing his bus as well, writing the word cook on it, which is mature and helpful.
Yeah.
And so there are shortcomings on all sides of this here, but if you are serious, if you want to address it, you've got to get your elected representatives into Congress, into the Senate, and you've got to bang the drum on this. There is no other way through.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.